Hey, friend, welcome to She Said podcast. I'm your host, Laura Cox Kaplan. So this week I have been thinking a lot about graduation. I have a high school senior who's going to be graduating actually in a couple of days. So it's largely on my mind. And as an aside, I love all of the graduation advice that I see on Instagram and LinkedIn and elsewhere. I find it very inspiring. And so it inspired today's podcast to some degree. But one small caveat, while this advice certainly applies to new graduates, I think what makes it really good advice is the fact that it applies at every season in your life and career, especially when you're thinking about making a pivot. Maybe you've evolved into something new. You're feeling a little lost, perhaps. I think this advice is really spot on. Here is the concept. No one can really fully see the path ahead. We can all visualize what it might be like. We can take smart risks. We can make good decisions. We can position ourselves for future opportunities. But no one can really know what's going to unfold over the weeks and the months and the years ahead. No one can know what struggles or setbacks or victories you will experience, for better or worse. No one can tell you those things. But the people who I have found, both in my conversations on this podcast and in my own life, the people who have built the richest and fullest lives are the ones who are willing to keep showing up and to keep earning what I like to call experience equity, even when they can't necessarily see what it's all adding up to. That is the thing that determines what's next. So today I want to offer 3 pieces of advice because there are 3 things that I think are sometimes overlooked. The first piece of advice is this. Your mindset and how you respond to the things that happen to you is the one thing that you can actually own and control. Now, for the vast majority of us, myself included, it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of intention to remember that and to leverage it accordingly. But people who believe in their abilities through effort and through feedback and through practice, they perform measurably better over time than the people who believe that their abilities are fixed. Now, that sounds obvious, doesn't it? But it's really not, because when you walk across that graduation stage and out into life and out into the world, you're about to encounter a long string of things that you're not good at. Your first real job, your first hard conversation with maybe a new college roommate or a colleague, your first time being the only person in the room who doesn't have the right vocabulary yet or isn't sure which fork to use, perhaps. Those are the moments when you get to decide which mindset wins. Is it the fixed mindset version of you, the one that hears you're just not good at this yet and then concludes something permanent, some fact about who you are as a person? Or is it the growth mindset version of you, the one that hears the same message and asks instead, what would it take to get better at this particular thing? The reason why this matters so much for the bigger picture is that your mindset determines whether each chapter actually deposits anything into your experience account. The fixed mindset graduate who has had a hard year concludes that that year was a failure. And the growth mindset graduate who has had the same hard year, maybe some of the same hard experiences, walks out of it with something, a skill, a relationship, a piece of knowledge, a story that she or he will be able to tell later. Same year, 2 completely different deposits because of the mindset that the 2 individuals applied. Now, there's another dimension to this. The single most powerful predictor of a good day or a good experience is making meaningful progress on something that matters to you. Not necessarily winning, not even finishing whatever that is necessarily, just progress. And equally important is actually noticing that progress, taking that progress into account, celebrating that progress. You don't have to have balloons and confetti, but just a quiet pause to acknowledge that you've moved the ball forward. Now, new grads likely won't feel ready. None of us do when we're starting something that we don't know how to do yet. We're not supposed to. But when we learn to get a little boost from or even kind of fall in love with the small daily increments of getting better and of making progress, or again, just moving the ball forward a little bit, that young graduate looks up in 10 or 20 or maybe 30 years and finds that she has grown into a much better and much fuller version of who she was always meant to be. Okay, the second piece of advice related to this is set your intention before you set your direction. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. I've established a practice over the last number of years where every single morning I get up and I spend a few quiet minutes, sometimes it's literally like 10, maybe 15, thinking about how I want to show up that day, what I have on my calendar, all the various to-dos that I have, and what kind of presence I want to bring to the day in front of me. What do I want to be open to? What do I want to leave behind? What do I want to let go of potentially? What would crowd out my attention if I let it? This is a small practice, and it only takes, as I said, just a few minutes every day. It is not a big commitment, but it can change how you approach the day. That has certainly been true for me. Because when you decide in advance how you want to show up, you change what you're available for. You're more open, you're more curious. You start to see things that you would otherwise have walked right past. Here is what I would tell a new graduate. The same practice works for any threshold, including the one that you're standing on right now. You may be asking yourself and maybe asking the world around you, what should I do with my life? That's a really fine question to start with. And the world will absolutely give you answers to it. Your parents will make suggestions. Your professors will have thoughts for you. The Career Services Office will have many plausible answers. Even LinkedIn will have an answer all dressed up as an algorithm. So you can collect those answers and pick the one that sounds most credible and just start. But I would challenge you that the more powerful question, the one that most people don't ask at 18 or 22, is how do I want to show up? Because that question can only be answered by you. Nobody else can really hand that answer to you. And the answer to it determines whether the path you've chosen actually deposits anything into your account. Two graduates can take the same exact first job. One shows up willing to be a beginner, willing to be curious, willing to do the unglamorous work, willing to learn from the people around her. The other one shows up more resistant, really focused on what the next step is, not the step right in front of them. They're performing, they're waiting for the next thing. And a year later, those two graduates have had a completely different year. Their resumes may look similar, but the deposits that they've made will look very different. And the opportunities available to those two employees are likely to look dramatically different. So before you ask, what should I do with my life? Ask yourself how you want to be present in it. What kind of presence do you want to bring to your work, to your friendships, to your family, to the relationships that are about to expand and really evolve as this new chapter begins? Set the posture first and then take that next step. Okay, my third piece of advice. Look for experiences that help you build skills and expand your network, and look for areas where growth is the most important attribute. Don't worry about whether or not a path is likely to be linear. Looking back, you will inevitably see how the pieces fit together, but it won't be clear in the moment. When I graduated from college, my first job in 1992 paid me $12,000 a year. I'm not sure that that was even a living wage at the time. I didn't have family money to fall back on, no cushion, no plan B. But what I did have was an incredible opportunity in a city that I wanted to be in. And I was surrounded by people who were doing work that I thought was incredibly important, and it absolutely captivated and fascinated me. I made it work because I wanted to make it work and I was passionate about it. And because I knew even then that the rooms that I was in mattered much more than the paycheck I was getting. The relationships that I was building, the proximity that I had, the things that I learned by being underpaid and over-included on Capitol Hill, those were real deposits into my experience equity account. I had no way of knowing at the time what it would compound into. I just knew that I was in the right room. And here's the additional part that I would add here. When I graduated from college in 1992, the job market was really tough. Jobs in journalism and public relations, which is what I studied, were hard to come by. So I wasn't choosing between great offers. I was choosing among the options available to me, and I went with the one that really sparked my interests and my passions and that I thought would be a good career investment, but not because of the salary. It was a tremendous investment. I've thought about my career that way ever since. I've always thought about my lesser paying jobs as investment jobs, roles that paid major dividends in education and in knowledge and relationship building and in networks that I couldn't have built any other way. That has been one of the most useful frames of my entire career. The salary line on the offer letter was never the whole picture. The dividends were rarely visible up front, but they were real. And over time, they absolutely compounded. And here's something that I think might be even more important. Even jobs that don't seem like investment jobs can hold some of the most impactful experience equity of your life. But it requires one thing, one really important thing: paying attention and setting your intentions and leaning in with your full curiosity, finding ways that you can actually contribute, asking yourself, what do I have that could make this organization or this environment or this team even better? The job doesn't make the equity. You do. The job is just the room, the environment, the organization. The equity comes from how you decide to show up for it. Now, here's a part that I think a lot of people miss. Every chapter in your life is depositing something: skills, relationships, embarrassing failures, the random Tuesday when you sat next to someone at a conference and that person became your business partner or maybe your best friend. All of that goes into your experience equity account. My mother was a banker, and it's probably where this notion of experience equity actually generated from. She used to talk about compound interest, and she would say, don't miss the magic of the interest rate combined with the accumulated time and how much your investment grows when you continue to make deposits. I think about that a lot. The idea that everything you do, including the things that feel like detours, including the chapters whose point you can't see yet, everything is earning interest in an account that you'll be able to draw from later. The graduate who takes the quote-unquote wrong job and learns to manage a difficult boss is building equity. Those are incredible skills that she's learning. The graduate who moves to a city where he knows no one and has to make friends from scratch is building equity. That graduate who tries something and fails at it in front of other people is building equity. None of this is wasted. As long as you bring the mindset and the posture that we just talked about, as long as you notice what each chapter is teaching you, and you take a minute to actually soak that in. And here's something that I wish someone had told me earlier. No single deposit has to carry the entire weight of your experience equity account. Your day job can be one type of deposit, and your side pursuits can be another. Your friendships another, your volunteer work, your reading, the things you do on the weekends. All of it is depositing into different parts of the same account. So your job, what you make money at, what pays the bills, doesn't have to be the great love of your life. If it is, that's wonderful, but it doesn't have to be. If you're drawn to color and composition, you don't have to be a painter to honor that part of yourself. You can do those things on the weekends. And the painting, it can become a fueling pursuit. It can be like a deposit into part of your account that your day job doesn't quite reach. At some point, you will be able to draw on those deposits. It's just unclear what that may look like. So if your job isn't the great love of your life, it might be, but for many people it's not, that is okay. It doesn't have to be. If you're drawn to color and composition, you don't have to be a painter in order to honor that part of yourself. You can do the work that pays the bills and still pursue your hobbies and other activities. It's a fueling pursuit. All those things are deposits into part of the account that your day job doesn't quite reach yet. You never know how you'll be able to draw on all these experiences, all these relationships in the future. Now, if you have been following along with this podcast for the past several weeks, I have been having conversations with authors about their books, and especially how identity and personal evolution play out in their writing. And I think most importantly, how these women have drawn from their own life experiences to create their characters and the stories that they're writing. And I would venture not a single one of them knew when they were actually having those experiences that they were collecting the scaffolding for a future literary character. They couldn't have seen that necessarily in the moment, but it was building equity. And one day, sometimes decades later, they reached into that account and they drew from it. Deborah Goodrich Royce, Virginia Hume, Chastity Evans, and many others. If someone tells you that a career should look like a ladder, don't believe them. It's not a ladder. I would argue it's an account, and it grows the longer that you stay curious, the longer that you keep showing up, the longer that you trust what looks like a detour right now is actually a deposit you'll be glad you made. I want to end back where I started with the question that I have been turning over in my mind. The 22-year-old version of me walking into that $12,000 a year Capitol Hill job could not have told you a single thing about how the next 3 decades would unfold. She didn't know about her job in a presidential administration. She didn't know about her senior role at PricewaterhouseCoopers. She didn't know about podcasting. She didn't know about any of the incredible people who would shape her life or any of the rooms that she would eventually find herself in. She just knew where she wanted to be in that week, and she showed up, and she did her best, and she tried hard, and she made strong relationships. And then she did it again and again and again, over and over and over again. This is the deal we all enter into. We don't get to see the whole map. We only get to see the next step. But when we bring the mindset and we bring the curiosity and we bring the willingness to learn and the trust that the detours are actually deposits, we typically don't turn out just fine. We actually turn out even fuller, richer, and more interesting versions of ourselves. With that, friend, I wish all of the graduates out there my warmest congratulations. On behalf of She Said, She Said Media, this is She Said, She Said podcast. Take care, friend, and I'll see you next week.